sheep herd once more having stampeded off the cliff. But wait, our number one story in the countdown, one got away. Congressman Joseph Gao, to the emphatic dismay of his Republican colleagues and the right-wing punditry, Mr. Gao voted for the House health care reform bill because people in his district need it. The congressman, calling it a matter of conscience, his vote bucked the incredible pressure from his party. In fact, RNC Chairman Michael Steele had issued a warning to Republicans who might be tempted to vote for Nancy Pelosi's health plan, quoting Steele, "We'll come after you." But Congressman Gao brushed that off and recalled that Steele and other Republican leaders had celebrated his win over the then indicted Democrat William Jefferson as a symbol of Republican Party diversity. Besides, Mr. Gao's logic was unimpeachable.
I had to vote according to my conscience, according to the needs of my district. My district is extremely poor. 25% of my people are uninsured. We are recovering from the devastations of Hurricane Katrina, and I have to do whatever I can in order to bring health care down here to my people.
But news model Gretchen Carlson asked, quote, "How do you put the two things together in your head then, being a Republican who would be against putting the country into forever debt, and how do you rationalize that in your head then?" The congressman said he had a constitutional duty to represent the people in his district. It's news to her. As for the media arm of the Republican herd, it was spoofed on Saturday Night Live regarding Tuesday's big event.
You're watching Fox News. Continuous coverage of the 2009 election. End of an era. And now, Greta Van Susteren.
Good evening. I'm Greta Van Susteren. Well, it's hard to believe that only 1 year ago, Barack Obama entered the White House promising a new era of government. And yet on Tuesday, it seems that era came to a definitive end. Karl, how do you see the rest of Obama's term?
Well, he's a lame duck.
Joe Trippi, you've been pretty quiet over there.
You haven't asked me any questions.
Britt, the significance of Tuesday. We have to cut away to Fox's own Glenn Beck.
Oh, and Greta, I also realized you could rearrange the letters of your name to spell a great.
And a Countdown exclusive, Mad Magazine's yearly list of the dumbest people, events, and things of the year, the Mad 20, number 13, just out. Fairly unbalanced, an apt and even epic phrase. They even got serious. We don't think Beck is crazy. We think he's a conniving self-promoter who will say anything for his own enrichment with little regard for the consequences of his incendiary rhetoric, and that is not just dumb, that's crazy. Let's bring in the Washington editor of The Week and political columnist with Bloomberg News, Margaret Carlson. Margaret, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Back to Congressman Gao. I know it was pointed out his district is something like 65 Democrat, but he still sort of stands here as a rational Republican. Who knew?
Who knew there was one?
Yeah.
There is one, and we discovered him. Congressman Gao may be in trouble with the Republican Party for finding the courage to do this, and he did not have the courage, however, when the stimulus bill was up, and he voted against it. Arguably, the stimulus bill would have done as much for his district as the health care bill, but better late than never. He did find it, and you know, his problem may be he's in a no man's land where his Democratic constituents may still fault him for the stimulus bill, not be grateful enough for the health care bill, and he has Republicans like Michael Steele vowing to come after him.
But he seems to be unfazed by that threat from Chairman Steele. What does Steele plan to do with him? And do we just see Gao at some point going, hey, all right, chase me out of this party. I can go over to the Democrats and get reelected?
Right. Well, you know, there is an opening for a full-time person at the RNC to remove Michael Steele's foot from his mouth. He's repeatedly done things that just make the party look really stupid. I think they've taken down the What Up blog site for the RNC. He could switch over, and you know, he's one of the ones that, because he's in this was the William Jefferson's district. It's majority African American. It was devastated by Katrina. You know, every once in a while you look at somebody and say, you know, you're in the wrong party. come over. And maybe that's what he'll do. Michael Steele will drive him out.
But in the interim, he turned out to be exactly what the Republicans don't need right now, because he drew every bit of attention away from this solid Republican opposition with that disarmingly simple, unanswerable statement that his constituents prefer this, voted him in to do things like this, and you know, need this. How do you answer that?
Yeah, I mean, what a manner he had in telling that story. You know, it's one thing about the caucuses is, you know, it's like high school. You don't want to be in a caucus where you're the odd man out. It must be, it's painful. This is why especially Republicans are able to keep such discipline, because they're very mean to people who go outside. The Democrats have a bigger tent in that way. You can, I mean, look how Joe Lieberman has managed to stay in the Democratic caucus and keep his Homeland Security Committee despite what all of his heresies. And now he's threatening, he's listening to his conscience as if nobody else has one, vowing to filibuster. But for Congressman Gao, it is a courageous thing to do in that party, to be the one lone person who did it. And he was eloquent in a very simple way, in which he said what, you know, most congressmen should live by, which is, I did the right thing.
Margaret Carlson of Bloomberg News and The Week magazine, always a pleasure. We'll see how long Congressman Gao retains his little GOP parking spot and membership card. Thanks, Margaret.
Thanks, Keith.